Hey y'all, it's Tasha from OhSheGrows. So a couple months ago, I held a workshop, and the workshop was based off of a workbook that I created called Start a Garden Today. Now, this workbook is a great resource for people that are interested in growing but don't know where to start. But it's also a great resource for anyone who is currently growing. Now, the video that you're getting ready to see is just a portion of that workshop. I just, took a few excerpts just so that you can get an idea of what's in the workbook because the workshop is based off of the material in the workbook. All right, come on, let's grow. So let me first say thank you and welcome. Welcome to the workshop. How y'all doing today? This workshop is basically going to be walking you through that workbook. I'm going to go ahead and jump right on in. Let me share my screen. So the first page, well, page 2 of your workbook tells you to go grab your compass. Your compass is going to tell you what direction you're facing. So that's going to tell you basically how much sun you're getting or how much sun you will be getting to grow things. Now, my garden faces southwest. So I basically get sun all day. The evenings, there is a little bit of a shadow cast from my house because it's on the side of the house. So I do get a little bit of shadow from that. So when you're looking at your space and you're evaluating what direction your garden is facing, you do want to take into account like buildings or tall trees and things of that nature because they can provide shade for you, which can be good if you're getting 6 hours a day. Because depending on what you're growing, it may not require 6 hours or it may need a little bit of shade. For instance, let's say you have a north facing garden and it looks like, oh, well, a north facing garden could be the worst positioned garden, but you can't look at it like that. You're still going to get 3 hours of sun. And some things don't require a lot of sun. So if you're looking at, we'll just use tomatoes and lettuce for 2 examples. Lettuce only produces leaves. So it doesn't take tons of energy to produce those leaves for you. So 3 hours of sun could be sufficient for growing lettuce. Now, tomatoes are going to give you an actual fruit. It's going to produce flowers and it's going to produce a fruit. So it needs more energy. So tomato is going to need more sun because it needs more energy to produce the fruit that it's growing, if that makes sense. So if you wanted to grow tomatoes and you had a north facing garden, it's not that you couldn't do it. It's just going to be a little bit of a challenge because you're not going to receive as much sun as that tomato plant would like. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So now that we know what direction your garden is facing, we can plot out what you want to grow there. Now, I did mine, and this is what my garden looks like. Your growing zone just basically puts you in a space based on your high and low temperatures. But we're going to figure out what those high and low temperatures are and what those frost dates are. So we're basically figuring out the behind the scenes, if you will, of what your zone means. So when asked what's my zone, I just say I'm zone 7 because my zip code covers both 7A and 7B. But if you look at zone 7, it stretches all the way across the country. Like I'm in Maryland. Zone 7 goes up almost to Pennsylvania and down into North Carolina and out west as far as Tennessee. I don't have the same climate exactly as people in North Carolina, Tennessee, or in Pennsylvania. And they can grow things at certain times of the year that I can't, just like I can grow things at certain times of the year that they can't. So discovering what your frost dates are and what your average high and low temperatures are is going to give you a better idea of what you can grow and when than just discovering what your growing zone is. Okay. So to find your frost dates, it's easy, to do a Google search. And this is how I find mine. So you want to just open up your browser or search engine, and you want to search for whatever your city is, and then type your city, first and last frost dates for 2022. So example, if you live in Houston, Texas, you want to type, Houston, Texas, first and last frost dates 2022. Now, when I did mine, these are what my dates are. So my first frost date is November 2nd, and my last frost date is April 10th. Now, this is funny because last year, my first frost date was October 13th. But this year, it's November 2nd. So that date has moved 2 whole weeks from last year. So this is why you want to do this at the beginning of every season, because your dates change and things can change. Okay. Since you know high and lows, do you cover your plants or shade them depending on the temperature? I do. So I check the weather. Like, I am very meticulous about checking the weather. I probably open my weather app at least 4 times a day. I check it first thing in the morning to see what the temperature is, and I check it at night to see what the temperature is going to get down to. Just because I prefer to grow things like my vegetables. If it's not a house plant, I want it outside. I only like my house plants inside because with growing vegetables, they multiply. They multiply so easy, and they can take over. So like I'm sitting in my dining room, and you can't see all the plants that I have around me, but I have plants all over. Like, this is 2 tomato plants that I've propagated. I have some seedlings, which this is here to show you later, but I prefer to let nature do what it's going to do with plants. So I do cover things especially with cool season or cold crops. I'll put them outside and let them get acclimated to the weather, because it's the season that they like to grow in. But if it's going to get too cold, like we got some temperatures down into the teens, and it was like 19, 16 degrees at night for about a week. That is too extreme for plants that like cold. Like, there are some plants that like the cold, but that's too cold for them. So I will cover them either with plastic, or I have a couple portable greenhouses that I can put things in, or just using like landscaping fabric as a blanket to cover them, just to keep the frost from settling on them and freezing them out. That's a good question. Thank you, Auntie's Garden. 1 inch of water per square foot is equal to about 1.6 gallons, so a little over 1.5 gallons. And then I have one really hot month. So July is my hottest month. So I already know that in July, I have to pay close attention to my watering schedule to make sure that everything gets the water that it needs to be able to continue to thrive and not stress from the heat. This is the list of plants that you can plant or grow during these specific seasons. So in the cool season, again, you're looking at temperatures between 35 and 65. And most of these plants that are here are tolerant to frost. So you can plant them and they'll grow, and when it's cold, and they will be able to live outside uncovered, unbothered, even when there's frost on the ground. Then we have the warm season plants that their ideal temperatures are between 65 and 85 degrees. They don't like frost at all. And then you have your hot season plants, which enjoy 85 degrees and above. They don't like frost at all. Next, we're going to look at a bigger growing space. So we have a 4-foot by 6-foot garden bed. I drew the lines in there so that you can see how many spaces you have. So with a 4x6 space, each of those squares is basically 1 square foot. So we can grow 24 different plants in a 4x6 bed. That to me is amazing, because you can almost grow everything in one little plot. In a 4x6 bed, you can grow so many different things. And I made a list here to show you. So these are things that I just picked some things to put, on there. So with a cucumber, you can grow 2 plants in 1 square foot. Tomato, you can grow 2 plants in 1 square foot. Chives, Now, I don't know about chives. They're little green onions and you can sprinkle seeds everywhere. I don't think that one plant is going to take up 1 square foot. So I took that from the chart, but chives you can stick in and interplant anywhere. Basil, you can put 2 plants. Sweet potato, you want one plant per square foot. Cabbage, 1 plant. Marigolds, 2 plants. Radish, you can fit 16 radish plants in 1 square foot. Cilantro, you can put 9 of those plants, and pepper plants, you can put 1. So if you look at my chart over here, it's kind of color coded. On the very top row, I have cucumber, tomato, cucumber, cucumber, tomato, cucumber. So if this were my garden bed, that first row, I would put a trellis along that back side so that the cucumbers can grow up that trellis and the tomatoes can have something to lean up against or grow up that trellis. Sweet potatoes grow under the ground, so they are great for garden beds. I grew my sweet potatoes in a raised bed, a 4x4 raised bed. In that bed, I had basil growing. I had 3 tomato plants, and I think I had beans growing out of it too. But those, you don't see the sweet potatoes. All you see is the sweet potato vines. And I had it growing up a trellis and it was sprawling all out of the bed and everything. But you can trim those leaves. You can actually cook sweet potato leaves like spinach. So you kind of get 2 for 1 with that. But that's one reason I love sweet potatoes. You don't see them growing. They're growing underground. But as long as you give them the 90 days that they need to grow, you can grow those and grow other things on top, and they're going to be just fine to start my second round of warm season crops. And then my cool season crops, again, because I get cool in the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. September 2nd is when I would start my second round of cool season crops. Next is going to be trellises and support. So when you have these little bitty seeds and you put them in the dirt and they grow these little tiny plants, they look, so cute and little. You have to think about what that little seed is going to end up being. And I still get surprised every time, by seeing how big things grow. Like, for instance, broccoli. You go to the grocery store, you see broccoli. It's like, oh, you got these little broccoli crowns. Or, even if you get the bunches of broccoli, it's like, oh, the broccoli's this big. You don't realize that broccoli plant, when they get big, sometimes they need support. So you can use different types of things for support. I use just about anything. I have some bamboo stakes that I've made teepees with. The second row, the first one on the left, is a clothes rack. And I use that as a trellis for peas and cucumbers, and it works pretty good. I'm glad we met on TikTok too. And I'm so glad that you signed up for this class too.
And I reached out to her. It was a mess. My house plants look sick. And I emailed her. I felt like a stalker. I was like, can you help me with my house plants? Because the plant that she has behind her is a plant that I have in my house and it's dying. So they're still trying. But I will be reaching out to you again going, I'll send you another picture. But
that's okay. No, that helps me so I can see what's happening with yours to help you diagnose what's wrong. No, you keep on. It's okay. And lastly, I just want you to know that you got this. You can do it. You can't fail. As long as you try, something's going to happen. Throw some seeds in the dirt. Something's going to take and something's going to grow. There's no perfect way to do it. There are tons and tons of books out there to tell you how to grow and different methods to use. You can try them all out. You can try a few of them out, but it's your garden and you are free to do whatever you want. And I love that, the freedom in gardening, because you can literally do what you want. I am going to go ahead and hop off here so that you can enjoy the rest of your day. I have taken up enough of your time. And again, thank you. And let me know if you have any questions. I hope y'all have a great day, a good weekend. Bye.